Good morning, friends, and I just wanted to tell you right off the bat, you worry too much. Seriously, this needs to stop. Oh, and welcome to Morning Thoughts. You guys ever heard of the expression worried sick? Well, for me that could sometimes be a reality. You see, my brain loves to worry, and if I don't control it, I could literally worry myself to the point of being physically ill. It's something that I've lived with my whole life, and I'm realizing that it's only getting worse as I'm getting older. So over the years I've been doing some research on how I can possibly control my worries. And I found some solutions that work for me, and I thought I'll share them with you guys in hopes to help others. See, as I understand it, the reason we worry so much is because of how we perceive things. Some of it has been taught to us by the people we surround ourselves with, like our family and friends, and some of it has to do with just the way our brain is wired. The main thing to keep in mind is that you can actually retrain the way your brain perceives things. It's not easy, and there's no guaranteed ways. You kind of have to just dabble with a lot of different solutions and see what works best for you. So let's just jump into it, and you know what, in fact, let's go outside. So the very first thing that you really want to get good at is to catch yourself falling into that deep well of worry. And that just means you need to be more vigilant about your thoughts. Pay attention to what you're thinking. So let's take a typical example. Let's say I get a phone call from my doctor's office telling me I need to come in and talk to them about my latest blood work. At this point, I'll tell you right now, my brain will think the worst possible scenarios. And I will notice that feeling, and I will counteract it with the following thoughts. So the very first thing I do is I actually think of the worst possible scenario, and I try to analyze it. Is it really as bad as my brain thinks it is? In this particular situation, I will probably think that my doctor will tell me that I have some kind of a lifelong disease for which I will have to take pills for every single day. And if you take a step back and think about it, you'll realize that there's been plenty of people who have lived long and happy lives while having to deal with some kind of disease and take pills every single day. Now, I'm not saying that that is an easy life, but it's doable. So just knowing that and realizing that would calm my nerves down significantly. The second thing that I try to do is I actually try to remind myself that I can ignore my thoughts. Let me explain. I'm trying to train myself to think of my brain as if it's just another muscle, like a bicep, for example. You have to exercise your muscles in order for them to grow. The same way you need to exercise your brain if you want to get smarter. But sometimes my bicep twitches, and I usually just ignore it and it goes away. So I'm learning to ignore my thoughts, just like those bicep twitches. And the third and final thing of which I usually try to remind myself is that worrying about the future is kind of silly. Think about it. Concentrating on the present is what I should really be focusing on. Whatever happens in the future, I'll just deal with it when it becomes the present. It's like making yourself feel exhausted before a good workout. It's just silly, but that's just how our brains work. And those are the three things that I do when I catch myself worried sick. Number one, the worst possible scenario is probably not as bad as you think. Number two, you don't have to listen to all of your thoughts all the time. And number three, agonizing over something that hasn't happened yet, that's just kind of silly. I believe subconsciously we think that worrying could prevent something bad from happening, or worrying shows that we care. But the fact is, worrying can affect the body in many negative ways and does nothing to solve the troubles you're possibly facing. So thanks for watching, and I hope you found this information useful. Let me know in the comments what you guys do when you find yourself worrying excessively. I'm sure there's plenty I can learn from you guys as well. Cheers.